In mobile technology, it's always the same old song and dance. We all go crazy over the newest tech, but after that initial review period, we all move on to the next new hotness. Thing is, how a gadget ages is just as important as that fresh out-of-the-box perspective. It's how we hold companies accountable. We shouldn't shy away from that conversation, so let's do something about that. Infinity displays, cutting-edge cameras, multiple methods of biometric security. We're in full-on rumor mode for Samsung's next flagship, which is the perfect time to revisit a phone you can still buy today. Closing in on a full year, how has this puppy aged? What worked? What hasn't? Here's our Galaxy S8 Plus after the buzz. How can a manufacturer both lead the way and play it safe at the same time? Look no further than the Galaxy S8 Plus. This is the most successful version of refining a phone line from 2017, both breaking new ground for smartphone design while wonderfully recovering from one of the biggest tech disasters a smartphone manufacturer has ever had to bear. It's incredible how much pressure was heaped on this gadget, and it's a testament to how good of a phone this is that it survived such intense scrutiny. It's a tightrope walk. On paper, only a few bullet points truly separate this phone from its predecessors. But one big item helps this phone feel like a significantly bigger upgrade than we found in Galaxy's past. We're of course talking about the screen, an early example of skinnier, taller displays. LG beat them to the punch, but Samsung delivered on a sleeker, more eye-catching design, which has set the new standard for all phones which followed. It's still fresh enough to impress, especially showing it to folks nearing the end of their current 2-year-old phone lease. What's interesting to me, while I'm still an advocate of moving up to higher resolution displays, the S8 Plus kicked off a trend of moving back to 1080p. I've spent most of my time with this phone in full HD, and it hasn't felt like much of a compromise. So much so that native 1080p panels feel just fine for the most part, outside of magnified use like virtual reality. Samsung also nailed a new trend in security without ostracizing traditional biometric unlocking. Under-screen fingerprint sensors weren't ready for prime time, so while the location is less than ideal, we still have that as an option alongside PIN, password, and iris scanning. All screen on the front, yet we didn't have to reinvent the wheel for basic control, like maintaining a home pulse where a button should be. There's a lot of functionality here, which doesn't interrupt the form of the gadget, which we can't say the same for some competitors. There have, of course, been some changes just for the sake of change. Sure, over the course of a year, we've gotten used to Samsung's new layout and UI, long pressing for shortcuts, swiping in different directions for apps. It's not that we aren't capable of adapting, it's more, why should we have to? These navigational differences brought no benefit to the table. And I'm still cranky about the zoom rocker on the camera app. It's caused me to miss numerous shots, and it's up to me to work around it. Again, I can, and I did. But why should I have to? Revisiting Bixby, I'm very happy to see how much more functional this assistant has become, though I'm still not sure exactly how I'd incorporate these features into my daily use. Voice assistants in general still have a ways to go for improving casual interactions and commands. There are some terrific ideas on display, especially for easily creating macros. But more often than not, it still takes more work or more attention to get a good result out of Bixby than manually performing the same task. And some of this philosophy extends to the overall hardware. This phone has spent precious little time out of a case, regardless of the video we show you. I never use it like this. And if I had purchased this phone with my own cash, it would have been in a skin on day one in addition to wearing a bumper. Premium phones have gotten too expensive and too fragile, huge surfaces of glass, curved corners, just begging for a good side drop to crack your day. Even shooting this video makes me a bit uncomfortable. Showing it off naked looks cool, but feels a bit dishonest from an editorial standpoint. In general use with the rear covered, the hardware has held up well, though I haven't been able to keep a screen protector on it, so it's covered in fine scratches. Also, I'm happy to report that the battery hasn't suffered any significant degradation. It's still an all-day device, with a little extra juice after dinner. We're all a little sensitive about battery performance, not just from Samsung's woes, but also Apple's issues. If you're buying an expensive phone, it should have more than the bare minimum capacity to make it through the day brand new. The S8 Plus feels like it has enough of a battery buffer to handle another year of abuse. Performance-wise, this has been one of the most well-behaved Samsungs I've ever reviewed. Every Galaxy I've owned has gotten a bit stuttery after a stretch, and this phone is no exception, but the chipset manages to help minimize those twitches. There's still significant custom software running on top of Android, so with a full suite of apps, driving this phone hard feels a bit slower than competitors that run leaner skins. Thankfully, the worst place this manifests are in games which are poorly coded for Android anyway. When they chug bad, but this isn't reflective of general UI performance or covering the basics. It is software where I've had the most concerns though. We know an Oreo update is around the corner, if for no other reason than the Galaxy S9 is also right around the corner. But it is a bummer to see that our review unit is still a couple months out of date on security patches. Not only plugging some recent holes in security, this hardware would have benefited from Android 7.1. One of the most expensive phones on the market, what should we expect in terms of support for a device we're increasingly living our lives out of? The most difficult thing about revisiting a Samsung phone is that it never feels like we ever quite leave Samsung phones. It wasn't that long ago we were reviewing the Note, and minus a zoom sensor on the camera, which I almost never use, and the S Pen, which I actually do enjoy, the two are almost interchangeable. It does some weird things to your brain, like ubiquitous advertising. It's like I can't ever truly escape the Galaxy. It makes the analysis part of this video a bit easier though. 1 year later, the S8 Plus is still a baller phone. We know moving forward we'll see some refinement to the rear case, probably double up the camera sensors, and AI tech will be offloaded to a dedicated core on Qualcomm's future chipset similar to the Mate 10 Pro's Kirin 970 NPU. Some cool bleeding-edge tech coming soon, but if none of that is mission critical for you, then the S8 Plus will continue to be a brutal competitor for phones launched in early 2018, especially when you can get one on sale. As always, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon for more reviews like these, and help us out with a share on your favorite social networks. For Pocket Now, I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, some gadget guy on Twitter and Instagram, and I will catch you all on the next review.